Welcome back. We're in the process of changing out the prototype chassis and needle elevation mechanism with our hopefully final version, just freshly printed. Instead of trying to screw into plastic, we've added these brass threaded inserts that are going to make the whole process much easier. Here's a look at the original prototype, and see it's been sanded, welded, painted, any variety of adjustments made to try and make it go. And now we have a much more professional looking permanent system. It's going to be outstanding, we hope, for moving our needles up and down cleanly, without jerks, without binds. We've got our stepper motors installed, and so far we've got our row 4 cable run installed. We're starting to make adjustments to our row 4 needle carrier, and we'll get that installed, and we'll continue to individually fit the items. Now our new replacement needle carriers are all printed for the most part without their tabs installed, which allows me to make a little bit of adjustment as we're gluing it up and getting things fitted to match the holes that were built into the 3D model. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about are the actual needle holders. When you use these items printed in resin, they'll support the needles on these tabs here. There's different setups for different rows, some rows of 3, some rows of 4, but the central needle or pair of needles will be supported directly by the carrier. It'll move up and down the needle carrier on a shuttle. But then the distal additional needles will be mounted by way of a spring-loaded outrigger. So you have some flexibility. That allows the needles to kind of fold as they go into the chassis. It allows them to spread out wider, so you get a much more aggressive stance from the needles when they stick out. But it will aid our retraction animation considerably by having just a little bit of flexibility out on the outer needles. Now we have considerable improvements with this second round of prints for the Airsoft system as well. Barrel will still exit here. We've added a couple extra holes for a muzzle flash feature. We've got more solid mountings for any additional materials that are mounted with the muzzle, such as the flash lasers and other muzzle flash events. We've added a much more positive and solid locking system to hold our chamber in place. And we've added fittings down here next to the stepper motor. Now that stepper motor is going to stick through here. It's going to control rotation of the barrel to tilt the barrel to affect our tracking BBs based on the radar signal we get. But the glitter chamber will mount here. It'll take a small air feed off of the valve, just a little bit drawn off of what's going to the barrel, to stir up glitter in a chamber that's here. We'll have this cap on top and just a regular Airsoft cylinder in between to make the glitter chamber, and that'll be accessed through this threaded hole at the bottom and a big set screw that'll keep our glitter contained. But with each shot, a tiny puff of air will go into the glitter chamber and exit out next to the muzzle to provide a tiny puff of glitter with each shot, and so we'll get a bit of a muzzle flash. Now for the actual mechanics of the Airsoft system, missing the actual cylinder, but the breech will fit up like so. You see a modified P90 chamber. It's very modified to take a feed tube right here, modified to take a max type hop-up chamber system, so 4 massive LEDs will flash the tracer BBs before they go out the barrel. And then we have our custom HPA system that's right here. Most of it will be inside the cylinder, but you have a breech piece, the piston, the spacer, and then of course the chamber itself. Now at the back we used to have a rotating breech, and that just didn't seem like it was going to work very well for us. So we've added a fixed breech, and it just bolts in like this, and the air of course will come in at the bottom from the valve, and that'll operate our HPA system, but reduce the number of rotating parts for the tracking babies, and should make for an excellent system. We're I think pretty close to being able to test it here.